Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 41. So today, we are glad to be back, glad to be having more content for you guys, talking about what goes on inside this wonderful facility. Today, we're going over a blog-style podcast once again. It is the 10-year plan of Wade Mountz. Wade recently just committed to Arkansas, and then I have Eric here and Dan to talk about his journey through KPI. So Eric, if you wouldn't mind, just start from the very beginning.
I think the reason we wanted to highlight Wade is because it is a very unique story in this building. Wade showed up and started playing travel ball with us, so well before KPI was even a thought in anyone's mind, as an 8-year-old kid. And his story is going to parallel, and we're going to talk about a lot of parts of it, but basically he was always the tallest kid on the team, abnormally tall. He's 6'7" now, so outlier tall. He never went anywhere else. He never left the team. He always did every one of our trainings. So there was a very consistent mindset across the years. That's obviously we've pivoted a few different directions as we've gone. But with Wade in particular, it wasn't a clean journey. It wasn't a simple journey. We knew that at a young age. Like, hey, this is going to be a long-term play. So that's why the 10-year plan. When Wade's done after senior year next year, he's going to be in this program for 10 years. And so, that'll never happen again. We don't even let 8-year-olds in this place, So, that's really why we wanted to highlight it, because Wade's journey and what we'll talk about really checks so many of the boxes of who we're about.
Yes.
And that's why we kind of wanted to start here with him.
Absolutely. So now I'll toss it back to you, Eric. So Wade, growing up in Morgan Hill, like you said, coming into a facility that taught him how to train, but not to the likes of where it is now. So start from the very beginning of training. Start from when Wade came to you as an 8-year-old, obviously the outlier of being his height. But a lot of people don't know Wade is very young for his age. So talk about that just a little bit.
He is really young. And, even when you talk to him now, he's 6'7", 200-something pounds, but there's not a hair on the face anywhere, So he's young age-wise, he's young body-wise, but people don't necessarily realize that because he is so big, But he is very immature from a body point of view. And it's actually, as we got into the recruiting process, it then became a good thing for him. Yes. Like, this guy's projectable. Like, he's just barely scratching the surface, on what he's doing. So as a young kid, he presents very similar to how he does right now. Yeah. Abnormally large, but sneaky athleticism, and some decent body control for how big he is,
Yes.
Wade was never one of those tall kids that couldn't move or was sloppy or anything like that. Like, he has like some quiet athleticism to him that we've kind of tapped into now that he's getting a little stronger.
Yeah. Now being in the facility with Wade, how is it being able to, and you mentioned this before, him on the dub team, and being able to see that work translate time and time again?
Yeah, I think for our focus at a really young age for him was just give him a good mechanical base, So, with the pitching, he did all the programs, and he really got to a point where, hey, I'm pretty solid with the way I move. When he started up with Dan as probably, a 13-ish-year-old, 12 or 13-year-old?
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, ish. Right in that range, which, that's usually the range where we get a lot of success with pitchers when they start with us at that age. The focus then became giving him some kind of a strength capacity, because when you're that big, the number one problem is I'm not strong enough to control my range of motion because my levers are so long, and Dan will touch on that. And then now, as he's gotten a little older, that's still the focus, and it will probably always be the focus for Wade, is that. But then we've been able to dive in deeper on some pitch design stuff, and really, we've found some stuff on the tech outlier pitches that Wade has that we think is going to make him, maybe one day, someone that plays in the big leagues, So it's really just kind of, like I said, he's checked so many boxes as he's gone through this journey, and the different things we've done, it really encompasses kind of our entire being here at KPI.
For sure. So I'll jump ahead just a little bit. We're going to go back and forth through Wade's story. Obviously, we're just going to give you all the details. So Dan, I'll jump to you. Coming into a facility that at the time had not yet been KPI, you and Eric come together and try to make this powerhouse. Well, don't try, you do, and you make this powerhouse to what it is today. Seeing Wade not at 8, but still at a very young age, and then adding on these assessments that allow you to kind of understand how this tall outlier kid moves. So explain your first experience with Wade Mountz.
I've made progression, I guess, the way I look at things from an assessment standpoint, because that was my first time sitting down with him, was going through the physical assessment. Assessing an athlete before they go through puberty, you get some useful information, and probably the biggest is just understanding who they are, like their personality, what's their tolerance for failure, what are their goals, that side of things. I think the actual physical assessment, things change so drastically after puberty that it is good to know our starting point and then see those changes over time, because we'll talk about this, it gives us insight to, okay, what are the mechanical inefficiencies that he's going to struggle with because of just who he is. I'm the hypermobile giant kid. Like, yeah, I'm going to have a problem with consistency. Throwing strikes is going to be difficult for me. I'm going to have some days where I'm dialed and I'm wonderful, and have other days where I'm all over the place. I'm just a giant of a man body with a child brain. Like, we got to give him more, grace when it comes to some of those things. So when I first sat down with him, I was like, okay, I have this hypermobile, very loose jointed athlete. They're always going to struggle. Like, it took him probably a year to learn how to deadlift. He had no concept, his spine being so loose, being able to maintain and keep a neutral spine position as I do a squat or a deadlift, it was like nearly impossible. And so focusing so heavily on movement capacity, meaning like how I control my body, like Eric was talking about, was a huge focus. And then building habits around arm care, doing exercise correctly, and then probably ultimately like viewing the gym as a place that I like going to. Exercise is not punishment. It's something that you use to help you achieve your goals. I think those were a lot of the common themes when we first started.
For sure. So I'm going to jump now to you, Eric. So you guys do a very good job of making sure that these athletes aren't being so-called like cookie cutter the way of things, like this is how you think, that you kind of let them figure it out. But before you even let them start the training, you have a sit down with them and their parents. I want to kind of talk about Wade's, that mental side when you first met Wade, or were able to do that kind of talk with Wade. What did you see in him that was like, okay, that kid got it?
I think there's obviously been through the years lots of sit downs with Wade and his family. They've just been around so long,
for sure.
And they continue to this day. A lot of them happened the last few months of the recruiting process. And I think the main concept with this and kind of what you're hinting at is with Wade, like time was something that we leveraged with Wade.
Yes.
Wade was, and his family, where they were told at a young age, like, hey, there's going to be some bumps and bruises with how tall he is, and like, to expect a 6'6", 15-year-old to throw strikes is nonsense, basically. We leveraged time with Wade in the training the last 2 years. Like, hey, like, you're going to need to be patient in this process because the right thing's going to happen eventually, but you have to grind your way to that.
Yes.
And then we leveraged time in the recruiting process too.
Yep.
Wade could have recruited or could have committed at a younger age than he did not at a school like Arkansas.
Yes.
And so as we had those talks through the years, there was a lot of trust built up with him and his family. And when we did have those serious talks, talking about time, talking about patience, it was okay. We trust you. You've built this credibility with us, and we're going to kind of see this through. And then now we're seeing the benefits of that. I know we're going to get there, but just kind of what he did last summer and the commitment to Arkansas is really just kind of a nod towards those initial early conversations where we just said, hey, like, you're going to have to kind of like slow play this a little bit with him.
For sure.
And I think that we talked about this in some of the other podcasts. You have finite resources of time, energy, and money. Time is the one that nobody has control over. It's always going away. It's always getting less. So getting an athlete, which sounds crazy, right? Oh, I have an 8-year-old getting into a structured program. I have a 12-year-old getting into the weight room. Like, a lot of parents, oh, no, that's stupid. Like, there's no way. And it's like, the earlier you can get in there, the more that we can build out and extend this entire process versus it's my junior year, I want to play college baseball. I need to, in the next 6 months, prove that I can do that. Like, good luck. Like, 6 years versus 6 months, like, we can truly do it the right way and make better decisions because we have more time. And I think as we've grown and turned into KPI, we have better information to act on.
Yes.
Right? Like, Wade has gone through this full progression of probably non-existent tech to some tech to basically tech dictates everything he does and informs us on what we should be doing with him. So I think that time component is huge. The sooner you can get your child into a structured program, no different than like academics, right? You take the same approach in academics.
Yeah.
You want your kid to be in a good structured program to help him or her learn what they need to do and learn the lessons they need to learn. And the earlier you do that, the more likely you're going to have success in the future. So
For sure.
I think that's a big theme of this.
So jumping back to Wade's performance on the field, I'm going to go. So between dub and an age to where you can technically do travel ball, like high-level travel ball tournaments, I want you, Eric, to talk about how that transition from being the small-town Morgan Hill kid to now, okay, I'm 6'7", and I can really do stuff at a high level, but I don't really know how to do it yet. I know it's there, but I don't understand what I need to do to get there.
Well, I mean, as he was kind of entering those travel ball ages, serious travel ball ages,
Yeah.
Getting 8th grade-ish into early high school, Wade was a bit of an enigma, and it wasn't clean on what exactly we were supposed to do with him. Again, we leveraged time and be like, hey, like, this is going to look like this eventually, but it looks like this right now. Yeah. And it was tough to tell, like, does he stand up? When do we move him to alpha? Like, all those things were very on-the-table conversations. Yeah. Obviously, it's worked out, but it wasn't as clean, and I think that's probably our next talking point here is like talking about like some of his struggles and some of the adversity he had to overcome was real the last couple of years as we transitioned him into like the little guy that's in Morgan Hill to like, hey, we're going to push you into a national kind of profile now. There are methodical ways we do that with the arms in this building. His was a different journey for sure. So
I think the part that I'd add to that is that right as he was going into like going through 7th, 8th, 9th grade, we really were starting to hone in and really dial in some of the systems that we're doing on the pitching side. The first thing I think of, like, oh, Wade's 6'7", he should throw over the top. He needs to throw downhill and he have downward tilt. He needs to be up here, like, oh, use your leverage. Like, Wade's not that guy at all. Like, I think we'll
if
probably
I could jump in there right now, like, probably that's one of the huge benefits of him being with us since he was 8 years old. Basically, he wasn't allowed to get screwed up like that. Like, some coach telling him to throw over the top, because his outlier trait and probably what will get him to a very high level of this game is that he throws sidearm, and he was never told to do something different.
Yeah, and I think that some of the physical assessments, some of the things, like, we were joking about this the other night, like with these athletes, especially when we get them young, you're getting less and less wrong of what your potential performance level could be. And our processes when it was Wade, it was basically like a physical screen. He knows how he plays on the field. We know that the support we have from the family. Wade's probably got a shot. Whereas like you have an extremely high, you jump on the force plates, you get arm care numbers, you get your track band data. We have extreme insights to what your potential is, and then use that as that feedback loop of okay, are we moving forward? So I think especially at the youth levels, and I put this in there, like he wasn't, other than his size, he wasn't like, oh, Wade's going to be a D1 guy.
Sure.
Like he wasn't the 12, the Little League All-Star, the 12-year-old who's dominating everybody. And I think it was at that age, like his size was a disadvantage to him because of some of the other factors we'll talk about.
So we've touched on it just a little bit, but our bread and butter in here is kind of getting people back to where they once were. So Wade did have a little bit of a conflict within training and with baseball and just kind of personally. I don't want to touch on it too much because you guys are going to go into it. But talk about how the switch from, okay, I'm not in a good place, but I still have KPI to try to get me to that good place. And you guys can go back and forth on this, but how did you see it from a training side, and then how did you see it from a weight room side?
Yeah, I think his first 2 years of high school were a really good example of how to stay patient and kind of immerse yourself the right way, because it wasn't clean and it wasn't easy, and there were some tough decisions made by him and his family. We consulted them all the way through this, but basically, as he entered into high school, started to hit the puberty thing a little bit, started to throw a little harder, he started to get some nagging injuries. From our point of view, it's almost expected that a kid that tall at that age that can throw with a little fuzz is going to get banged up. There's just the body control aspect and the stability aspect of his joints just wasn't there. The things that are going to make him great eventually, his hypermobility, it was an issue as he was growing up, and we were trying to stabilize that as he started to throw harder. So what he went through his first years, we probably would have bet that like, hey, he's probably going to have some nagging injuries as he goes through this. Really where push came to shove was going into the winter of last year. He had some nagging injuries, nothing serious, no surgery type stuff, nothing, just some stuff that was present and not really going away. And into last winter, it was nagging, it was staying. Going into the beginning of last spring, so what would have been his sophomore season, there were some serious conversations that were had with him and his parents, like, he wasn't getting the kind of schools recruiting him that he wanted. There was some love there, but not what he wanted. And he wasn't healthy for the start of high school baseball season. So as that started to play itself out over over February and March of this year. The conversation became, I think you should shut down the talk about playing high school baseball this season and get ready for the summer, which if you do this the right way, this will be a huge summer for you from a recruiting point of view. And that's a really tough conversation to have with a kid and his parents. Like, hey, this is the right thing in the big picture. This is totally going to suck right now, And they ultimately kind of, they came to that conclusion, and that was our recommendation to them. And to be honest, it was the best thing to ever happen to Wade. Yeah. Wade had to come in here every day after school with no other high school guys in here in a completely quiet, empty gym and work out on his own. Yeah. And this is a very social environment, like we admit that, And
Wade's a very social being.
And Wade's a social kid, and he likes his friends, and he likes the perception of being a dude and all those things. But he had never had to do that before ever. No, he had never been by himself and really kind of like, hey, this is just me now. And him doing that for 4 months, I think, made him mature in a way that probably wouldn't have happened if everything would have been perfectly lined up. And then what we saw, and I was nervous when we put him out there this summer, because we were getting schools to go see him, but it was like, all right, what Wade are they going to see here? And he absolutely knifed through the summer schedule, and just outing after outing, and it was like, all right, these schools have offered, then these schools have offered, now these schools have offered, now every school in the nation is going to offer him, and it was pretty crazy, 6-week progression. Yeah. And it was just such a huge testament to his approach to his training the last half year, and really kind of like what we talk about, he bet on himself. He goes, I don't care what it, because there was people telling us when we made that decision with his family to shut him down for the spring, there's no way anyone will recruit him this summer. You have to play high school baseball. College, zero questions about that in his recruiting process. Like, hey, how do you do this spring? No one cared, because there was some 6'7" guy throwing sidearm, knifing through some of the best hitting teams in the country, and that's all that mattered at that point in time, and that's how it all kind of developed.
Yeah, I think the fine line you have to walk with every athlete is finding the right amount of adversity to then cause them to mature and grow, and finding it in the right way so that they feel in control of it. Yes, if that makes sense. So there's times where kids get hurt or have setbacks or whatever it may be, and it's the coach, or it's my parents, or it's the umpire, or it's somebody else. And I think Eric more so made it very, very clear, Wade, you are in complete control of this entire process. You have every resource available to you. You have to do it. Yeah. And the hard part when you have a kid who is the bigger kid and has some success at younger ages, I start developing these habits of I can get by. I can use these physical traits to make me be good, but we know the game is going to catch up to you. We know the game is going to punch you in the face at some point, right? Yeah. And so how you react to that, I think, is what really happened with this phase where Wade being in the weight room, Wade doing his workouts, doing all of that, there was this level of desperation that set in, and this true desire to become the Wade we know now and continue to have. And I think that progression during this time frame was probably the most valuable thing that he got out of that entire process, because Wade could have 6'7" throwing upper 80s. He always was going to be a good baseball player.
He always was going to get recruited. It was just when and how much and by who, And we know success burns and adversity is flame. We know these things happen, and it had to happen. And push came to shove this spring, and Wade chose a side. Yeah. And he had a very real decision on the table. And most kids and families would have chose the other side. Oh, I don't want to piss my high school coach off. I'm just going to go sit here all spring and go to practices and try to get healthy, and maybe I'll throw 6 or 7 innings at the end of the year. That's kind of what was on the table. Yeah. Wade chose the other side. Wade went against the grain. It's you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm going to do this because I know that if I do this, this could be the result. Yeah. And then, like I said, we quickly went this summer as soon as he got back out there into kind of fantasy territory with the recruiting process. I mean, it happened quick. Yeah.
So before we deep dive into the summer, which was a fantastic summer, I want to keep on this through adversity and just kind of commend Wade for what he did. But talk about so Wade goes to a very prestigious high school with a lot of prestigious arms that go there. And we have more than a couple that train in this facility. Yeah. I want you, because you mentioned it, he was in here alone, by himself. Wade's a very social person. Wade likes his friends, and Wade wants to, honestly, and I think that's one of his greatest qualities, is be better than his friends. Yeah. So those talks with those kids being and playing well too in that high school season and getting committed, how did you see Wade not be like, okay, well, this is it, like I'm just in here alone, but kind of have that fuel him to make him better?
Well, he went from self-pity to pissed off.
Yeah.
You know, because there was some self-pity over the winter when the injuries wouldn't go away, and a lot of his friends from that high school started to commit that winter, and I think he was feeling sorry for himself, and then over the course of that winter to spring transition, he got pissed off.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, I think that process of him getting pissed off and going through this by himself this spring, like that was the flip that switched. And every success story has this moment. Yeah. Like it has the moment when things start to kind of go the different direction. Like I truly feel like him kind of being a little dark in those days is exactly why what happened.
Like
it created change inside of him.
For sure.
And then now, you know, we see him blossoming like a flower would blossom, you know, after getting watered and nurtured for a long time.
It's like they say, when you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up.
Yeah, I think within this time frame too, like they're also figuring out what that athlete needs to have success, like going and seeing other people, more so other professionals. So this process of him getting back to 100% wasn't just like, oh, I'll fix his mechanics and I'll make him stronger in the weight room, right? The ego component on our end, you know, we had to come not to the necessarily the realization, but we already were prepared to say, okay, we know what we can help you with, and then we know when we need to send you off to other people, and then we're going to connect and make sure that, hey, if you have a PT program or you're working with a Cairo or whoever you're, and you have stuff that you need to be doing because that person told you to, we're going to make sure you do that.
Yeah.
Like and I think that was a part of that
and
process
we did.
too.
Like we you know, we have obviously a very vast network of medical professionals that we tap into, and Dan says like we step back when it gets out of our range, you know, and his injuries got outside of our range, and we weren't helping him the way he needed to be helped. So we sent him to one of our go-to PTs that we send our high-level guys to, and she just did what she does, and that's what he needed at that moment in time, and that's what he got. And then he got back, he got back to us, and we kind of tweaked his routine, and we see the results.
Yeah, and I think it's like we talk so much about the small group, like the environment piece.
Yeah.
There are sometimes in certain athletes that do need the one-on-one, and especially when it's from a medical professional. So I think that was also key to him having, and especially during high school season, we've dealt with other players during your high school season, going and seeing a PT, seeing an ortho, or seeing a medical professional. It gets really tough because you have school all morning and you got practice all afternoon, and then it's very easy to, oh well, we'll just do that later. Oh, it's not that big of a deal, and you push it off, and all of a sudden it's you're halfway through or all the way through your high school season, you don't have time to do it. So him having that luxury, that time to be able to go and really get after it, I think was also crucial.
Last thing before we go into the summer, I do want you to talk about, because the weight room is a very important thing, and we talk about this all the time. Strength is normally the number one key when we see kids come in here. So talk about how Wade dedicated himself not only to mentally wanting to get better and understanding pitch design, understanding that I need to burn this fuel in me to make myself better. How did you see that translate into the weight room?
The maturing piece for Wade has been an arduous experience in the weight room. Meaning, if I'm the hypermobile, super loose, big kid, the weight room is my worst enemy because everything is hard. Push-ups are hard, squats are hard, everything is difficult, and human beings don't like doing things they're not good at.
Yes.
And so if that's the case, I'll just spend a little more time on the Mark Pro because I can do my recovery for my arm. I'll just do a couple more reps on my throwing outside, and my parents are here, I gotta go. And there were phases of that with Wade where it's like, I'm not taking the weight room as serious as I need to. And I think when Eric was saying, oh, Wade's in here by himself, it's like, no, it was much more of a private-like environment because all the high school guys were gone. So he had no choice. If it's me and him in the weight room or him and a strength coach in the weight room, you ain't gonna skip stuff. No. Like you have no choice. And then I think something for me personally, stepping back and giving them the space to, like, hey, if you're not going to do this, it's on you. Like, I'm going to build the plan, I'm going to create the environment, I'm going to give you the feedback with the force plates, and if you're not going to do it, then again, that's your choice, and you're going to set yourself up for potential failure, which one of those failures could be another injury. And using that fear of that, because he had already tasted a little bit of that, I think that helps with the weight room. But the progression in the weight room for him, and I do want to dive into from a strength standpoint, was him liking working out. Him wanting to be in the weight room, him following the structure of his programming, and there's still ups and downs when it comes to some of this stuff, as we're still dealing with teenagers. But in the weight room as a whole, knowing that from the physical side, I'm this hypermobile, super loose player, him necessarily getting stronger, meaning putting force into the ground, yes, is important, but him having the tension to keep the pieces together was the number one focus. So getting more individualized. Oh no, Wade needs to get stronger, and we would talk about that, using our force plate technology to then get to that next layer of like, okay, beyond just strength, we need to connect the dots a little bit tighter, maintain the tension when you're on the mound, and give him something that he inherently doesn't have from a genetic standpoint. I'm the hypermobile loose kid. I need to train more tension, where like, and this is, I'm going to go on a tangent, but like, there are a lot of talk about mobility and flexibility. Yeah. Wade never needed to work on flexibility and mobility, especially from his spine and his lower half. His shoulder, when we got dinged up, there were some things that needed to be addressed, but he always needs to work on stability and control, and so that was the huge focus in the weight room.
So last part of Eric's blog, if you have not yet, go read it at kpimh.com. I want you to talk about Wade's success, and talk about how not only did he have success, but it wasn't the type of success where you go, okay, now I'm good. Yeah. Right. I'm good mentally. I'm where I'm at. He kind of took it to another level and said, I had success, but now I want to go places.
Yeah, it was an interesting progression this summer, and we don't talk a ton about how we help kids in the recruiting process because it's a contextual thing in here. But with Wade being around so long, I of course was going to lead the process for him. And coming out of the summer, I wasn't sure what his recruiting landscape was going to look like. I knew that we had some mid-majors on the table, like that was going to be easy. So it was like, came out the summer, did a couple smaller West Coast things. Got some good video, offer. Okay, cool. Like, congrats. Like, let's see what happens over the next few weeks. And then we were down in SoCal, and I remember having lunch with him and his dad in Orange, California, and he had just had a good outing, and it was like Pac-12 schools offering. Nice. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it was pretty good. We're in a nice spot. Like, all right, let's play this out. Let's be patient. Wade had to express he wanted to take his visits. He didn't want to just commit to someone cold because they were a big name or they were a Power 5 school. So we kind of talked through that. And then he went to the East Coast and played in Georgia and had a couple dominant outings out there. And then it was like some SEC schools are involved. Okay, I mean, it might be a bit of a reach right now, but let's see what happens. Another good outing. 2 SEC offers, and then this school's interested. So then we started to get some more serious talks about like, hey, what do you want? Like, all right, this is getting real now. We're getting to crazy school territory, And then he had one more outing out on the East Coast, and then it was like everyone's all in, every school's in, And this all happened within 5 weeks-ish, of his summer. And then in the recruiting process, we have Dan comments that there's a very methodical way that I talk through families with the recruiting process, and there's a strategic process to this to get them in the mindset. And Wade was very adamant that he wanted technology at the school he was going to choose because he's been raised in this environment, and he didn't want to go to like an old school program, or he didn't want to go to a program that has a piece of tech but then they throw it off the side and not use it. He wanted to go to the best technologically advanced program in the nation. Arkansas has a $750,000 pitching lab. Like, they are more tech probably than we are, and that's hard to do. And that was a big calling point for him in his recruiting, was to be immersed in that environment because that's the environment he likes, and that's the environment he values. And it was a huge part of his decision. And then him and me sat in that office, and that's kind of usually what happens at the very end. And I play devil's advocate when he tells me what school he wants to go to, and we talked through it. He made the phone call, gave him a hug, walked out, unannounced. So that's how the summer went for Wade.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I want to add to this is like there's a story to this, right? It's the whole purpose of and how we're presenting it, right? This is like the on two fronts, the victor, right? Okay, I have victory. I've gotten the thing that I want. Leading up to that, I think for every athlete who's listening to this, every parent who's listening to this, the key to this story was Wade being good enough.
Yes.
None of this happens if Wade isn't good, and then beyond that, actually shows it on the field.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start having this happen where we have some kids who can do it in here, but can't do it on the field, right? Or are very good on the field, but don't have the numbers to be able to play at that level. So, number one, being good enough. Number two, I think, is the patience piece.
Yeah.
Like, it is a long-term process. You have to have that mentality. And I think that is another really, really big theme for it. And it's going to be the next level. You're going to have patience moving forward. You're just getting started. This isn't over, right? Commitment doesn't mean the end of your story. I mean, we're just starting.
just the beginning. So last thing before we get out of here, Wade now. So Wade committed. He's ready to go. He's got a high school season, and then the 10-year plan will be complete for you guys. Obviously, we hope Wade comes back after college and all that stuff, and we continue to help in his success no matter what, whether it be on the strength side or the pitching side. Just talk about future goals for Wade.
I mean, it's going to be a health first mentality with him for sure.
Yes.
Like Wade's going to throw high 90s. Like that's on the table going to happen, you know. So as we move him to Arkansas over the next year and a half, it's going to be keeping him healthy.
Yep.
And it's a challenge with a kid that big that throws that hard to keep them healthy. You know, it's a challenge to keep young throwers healthy. We think we have a pretty good formula for it. Our track record's showing we have a good formula for it. So that'll be priority number one with him, is keeping him healthy. We will be meeting with the Arkansas staff and talking about, you know, long-term projections, what they want to see him working on by the time they get there. We will help him. He's going to need an advisor,
Yep.
you know, probably after this fall. We'll help him through that process. Agent for people who don't know what advisor means, but and we'll just basically keep doing what we're doing with him and guide him along the way and make sure his pitch counts are in the right spot, make sure his throwing progression's there, his annual throwing program. Just it's what we do here, you know. So Wade's just going to kind of continue to follow our plan, but there are some contextual, like in-depth things we do now at this point in time to help these high-level arms, and you know, like we talked about last week in our retreat, like there's a reason they're here, is because we can provide them with we can connect dots that is pretty unique in
Yep.
here.
Got anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you guys very much for listening to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 41. If you liked what you heard or you resonated with the story at all, please sign up for a session at kpimh.com. And if you want to dive deeper into the blog, visit our blog tab up at the top of kpimh.com. 10-year plan, Wade Mountz. This has been Talking Points with KPI, episode number 41. Shout out, Wade.